we see here that it says Lisa wants to buy an item that costs $3,400 and has that much money. Everybody, what's my problem here? What am I doing wrong already? As always, what am I doing wrong? We have got to start by doing what? Got to start by reading the question, guys. Got to start by reading the question. Again, there's no point in sorting through a bunch of information when you don't know or care what the information does for you yet. So, with that said, again, turn your attention always, as short as the problem might be, just start right here. What percent of the cost does she have? Okay, cool. So in my head, what I'm thinking, in terms of the first step, what I want to fill in this blank. I want to say, hey, Lisa has blank percent of the cost. Is that okay with you guys? Again, just rephrasing the sentence, the question sentence, but we want to know what percent of the cost Lisa has. So I'll just say Lisa has blank percent. Cool. Sounds great. So up next, let's go ahead and see what information we have, because we have clearly seen that there is a percent mentioned. So everyone, this is a percent word problem, clearly. And I want to see who knows this one little kind of shortcut, not a shortcut, but one fact that not everybody uses. Everybody, when you're dealing with a percent word problem, percents can also be written as what? What's that other P word that I want to say? Percents can also be written as what? A P word. Percents can also be written as what? Hint, it's Unit 2 in Arithmetic Reasoning. Proportions. Percents and proportions, same idea. Same exact idea. And before we continue, one of the main frustrations that so many people have with the ASVAB is not knowing what to study and how to study to begin with. So if you're one of those people that can do a good job if everything's lined up for you, then go ahead and join our program. We have all the classes, all the recordings, all the courses with practice questions, with videos, and you can text me all the way up until you pass. So that's how it works. It's very simple, straightforward, and it gets you to the score and the job you want. Check out the link in the description of this video to learn more and sign up now. So I want to go ahead and show you two ways to do this problem. One's going to be the traditional way with your formula, but the other way is going to be using a proportion, and you'll see, gives you the exact same answer. I got you. So here we go, my party people. Here's the information we've got. Lisa wants to buy an item that costs $3,400. So, okay. Costs $3,400. And then we also see that it says Lisa has $1,496 or $1,496. So, with that said, let's just stick to percents for right now. My question is this, everybody. When it comes to percents, what is the main idea with percents? And here's the formula. I'll go and start you off with the formula. But what's the main idea? We have the percent times the original equals the result. Allow me to push this over a little bit. What is our main idea? Yeah, percents are definitely out of 100. That's a fact about percents that we always need to be able to use. But there's a main idea with proportions that we always want to be able to think of. And Landa has it here. It says the percent you apply is the result that you get. Has anybody ever heard me in a percent class or any problem where I do a percent, where I tell you that in your setup, your percent right here and your result, they represent the same thing. One is in the form of a percent, the other is in the form of an actual number, but they represent the same idea. So for example, sounds great, I'm glad you guys have. So what I'm saying here is this, in this particular problem, if we're trying to find the percent that Lisa has, then this right here, this percent that Lisa has, will translate to the amount that Lisa has. So this is going to give us a very, very, very big clue in terms of how to set it up. Yes or no, is that making sense? Again, the percent and the result, they represent the same idea. And I want everybody to reply. If it doesn't, say no. Say no, because I want to make sure we can point out what areas we need to work on. That way, there's a give and take. It's not like, oh, I expect you all to say, yeah, we're good, coach. No, be honest. So, looks like so far everybody's still saying yes. Again, what I said here, just because I saw a couple private messages. Again, the percent and the result, they represent the same thing. In this case, the percent that we're trying to find represent the percent that Lisa has. The result that we're going to put into the formula is the amount that Lisa has right over here. So let's see this develop and let's see how this is going to work out. So we're looking for that percent. I'll just say we're looking for, X percent times the original equals the amount that Lisa has, which is again 1,496. Everyone, the original, I left it blank. What does the original mean in any percent problem? What percent does it represent? What percent does that represent? The original represents, it represents your total, which is 100%. The original, the whole thing, the entirety of what you're working with. And in this case, the cost of the item, it's $3,400. That's the total cost of it. So the original right over here, that's going to be the total cost. That represents 100%. So in this case, I would plug that in right there. So before I continue, let's make sure that we recap how we set this up. Number one, again, the percent that we applied and the result that we get represent the same thing. So in this case, this X percent represents whatever this represents. 1,496. Oh, that's how much money Lisa has. Okay, so this percent is the percent of the money that Lisa has, which is exactly what we're looking for. So yes or no, before I continue, do we see that we have set this up the right way with the right pieces in place? That's really always the big piece, really big key. Making sure you know what's going where. And if you haven't finished the math basics, or if you haven't even had the chance to do percents in the course, don't worry. Hopefully some of what I'm saying makes sense. But if not, then follow along with me until I start calculating to practice those calculation skills. I got you. So, no worries. So let's go ahead and get to it here. Everybody, if we want to get X by itself, what am I supposed to do? Appreciate you, Jocelyn. Right away, out the gate. Yeah, we're going to divide both sides by 3,400. Joanna, Xavier, Jesse, Tariq, I really expect more out of you guys. I want you to say it fully. Divide both sides by 3,400. That way, if we can be sound and concise in how we say it, then during the test, our minds can be sound and concise. So, we'll divide both sides here. Divide by 3,400. Exactly, we are working backwards because we're trying to get this all right here by itself. We can't work forward to get it by itself because that 3,400 is in the way. So we have to work backwards. So that's going to cancel out. And now we're just going to have X equals whatever that quotient is. Everybody, does it look like we got to do some long division? Absolutely. Don't shy away from putting in that work, guys. Don't shy away at all. Do what you got to do. So here we go. Let's see what we got. We're going to go ahead and do 3,400 into 1,496. And we'll put some decimal places just in case. But let's ask ourselves, everybody, can 3,400 go into 1 or 14 or 149 or 1,496? Nope. Can't go into any of those. So we have to go ahead and go into that next decimal place. We got to go into 14,960. That's where we have to go. Take a guess, everybody. How many times do you think 3,400 goes into 14,960? We got to take a guess at this point. Let's take a guess. Okay, some people are saying 4, 4. Someone said 20. Someone said 4 again. Okay, let's try 4 out. Let's see how close we can get if we just guesstimated with 4. And if you're wondering how we chose 4, with practice, you'll try to basically say that, hey, look, we got 3,400, 15,000 about. So if we're trying to kind of guesstimate here, it's close to like maybe 4 or 5. Let's just try to go with 4. Let's see how close we can get. And this is what it'll look like. 3,400 times 4, 0 times 4, 0 times 4, 4 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1 is 13. Are we pretty close, everybody? 13,600 pretty close? It's all good. I know you saw that it was a big number. That's good. I'm glad you realized that. But yeah, this looks pretty dang close. If we added another 3,400, would that be too much? If we tried to go up one more, would that be too much? Yeah, it would be. If we added another 3,400, that would end up being 17,000. It wouldn't end up working out. So we'll stick to 4. That's a nice guess. It works. If we take away 13,600, here's what we get. 0, 6, 3, 1. From there, we're going to drop this 0 here. But we can also check really quick to see, since this starts with 0.4, it'll be in the 40 percentile range. But we have 41%, 43%, and 44, so we can't stop yet. I can tell you right now that C is not the answer because that starts with a 3. Everybody, are we seeing what I'm working on so far when I did that? Cool. And if you're looking for a quicker way, the quicker way would be for me not to talk and for me to just calculate. That's really the quicker way. But as you continue practicing on your own, you'll see that you can practice quickly once you have your setup. So here we go. Let's see another guess here. How many times do you think 3,400 can go into 13,600? Or did we already find that? We already found that. Remember, when we guessed 3,400 times 4, we already found that. So we can actually plug 4 right back in. That works perfectly. And we have a perfect match. And we have ourselves creased out. It is 0.44 as a decimal. Now, everyone, how do we turn a decimal back to a percent? How do we do that? Remember, my math party people, acing the ASVAB is not just about watching me do it. It's better that you practice as well. It's about watching, practicing, and mastering the material. And the best way to do that is to start off with my free practice test because it comes with video solutions so you can try it out yourself, see all the mistakes that you've made, and then keep raising your score with those video solutions, organizing yourself so you can lower that test anxiety and raise your score. No excuses, it's completely free, so go ahead and click the link there or in the description. That way you can get started, raise your score, and do everything you need to do. Let's ace the ASVAB, but let's get back to the problem after you're done signing up. Lambda, thank you. Well, we can multiply by 100, or we can move the decimal place over to the right 2 times. Either way is going to work. 1, 2, so that means x equals 44%. So notice how the setup was easy, but the calculation was a little bit drawn out. Our answer here is going to be D, 44%. And we got that by setting up our formula. Percent times original equals the result. We're looking for the percent. We put the corresponding result in there. We knew what the original number was, the whole 100%. And that's it. We just calculated, but we needed to make sure we knew how to work with decimals. We needed to make sure we knew how to work with big numbers. And we also needed to know how to convert a decimal back into a percent. So do you guys see that sometimes the setup is quick, but the process might take a little bit of time? All right. Anybody here interested in seeing how to do this with a proportion? Anybody interested in seeing this with a proportion? And now, yep, we cancel because we're working backwards. We're looking for the percent, so we got to get rid of that original, so we got to work backwards. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this. And I'm just going to show you very briefly how to do this as a proportion. So here's another way you can look at it. Everybody, in case you didn't know again, remember that percents are proportions. Here's what we can do. We can go ahead and say this. What we have out of the whole equals the percent that we have out of the percent that represents the whole. And look at how smooth this can be, everyone. Look at this. Everybody, what dollar amount do we have again? What dollar amount was it? Right, we have 1,496. And what is the whole, how much does the whole item cost? 3,400. So let's write that down here. 1,496 over 3,400. And from there on the right side, everybody, we're looking for that percent, right? So I'll just go ahead and mark it as X percent. But what percent represents the whole thing again? Yeah, 100% represents the whole thing. So I'll go ahead and write 100%. Everyone, if you are adapted to proportions, if you've done my unit on proportions already, are we comparing the same things in the same way here? We are. We absolutely are. Because think about it. What you have over the whole thing. What you have over the whole thing. That's a proportion. So you can represent percents with proportions. You absolutely can, so long as, again, you are comparing the same things in the same way. Here, it's the amount that we have over the amount total, percent that we have over the percent total. So now all we have to do is you can go ahead and cross multiply and divide if you'd like to, or from there, you can try to look for ways to simplify before you do all this crazy hoo-ha. But either way, if you just straight up cross multiply and divide, look at where we end up. We end up with 3,400x equals 1,496 times 100. Remember that when you multiply by 100, you're just adding zeros at the end. So that'll end up being 1,496 with 2 zeros at the end, which, doesn't that look awfully familiar if we solve? If we divide 3,400 on both sides, look at how it's the same exact thing that we did earlier. Look at that right there. That's the same exact thing that we did earlier. Except this time here, this is going to give you a decimal result, and then when we multiply by 100, that's what gave us the percent. So we kind of skipped the translating. We actually get the percent directly as a percent by doing it this way. Does anybody like this way over the other way? Right on. And again, with more practice, you'll see how much easier it can get. Now, I'm not going to do this division up here because it's going to lead you to 44%. It's going to give you the exact same answer that we got before, so I'm not going to spend double time doing it. I will suggest, though, that if you're looking at this proportion and you set it up this way, you don't have to cross multiply right away. Everyone, true or false? You can simplify before you do cross multiplication. Right, working smarter, saving time, that's always the goal. Making sure that we get it right in less time is always the goal. And yes, we can actually simplify here before we continue. If I'm taking a look at this, what's a number that you think 1,496 and 3,400, what do you think they might have in common that might help you divide this out? Yeah, since they're both even, try knocking out a 2. Try knocking out a 2 out of both of them. So I can go ahead and divide the top and the bottom by 2. And if you know your mental math, this is where it's really going to come into play. Because 3,400 divided by 2, that's definitely going to be 1,700. That shouldn't be too difficult. But the 1,496 might freak some people out. 1,496, the 14 would be a 7, 96 would come down to a 48. So that would end up being 748. And whenever you're comfortable, you can cross multiply. If you want to keep simplifying before then, sure. But whenever you're ready, you can absolutely cross multiply, because here you can still get a 2 out again. And with that 2 out, that would end up being 300, and that would end up being 74. And then 1,700 cut in half, that would end up being 850. So at this point, again, we're really just going ahead and simplifying to see what we can do here. So at some point, you're going to have to cross multiply and divide. With more mental math practice, you can keep breaking this down, and it'll actually come down to 2 pretty easy numbers. But for now, that's where I'll stop. That way we can save time to do more questions. But does everybody here understand where I'm coming from? Before you do the whole cross multiplication and division, you can go ahead and simplify those huge fractions to give yourself an easier shot as time goes on. Yeah, and you can horizontally simplify as well. One thing that I didn't mention, I know my advanced people know this, but not everybody knows that you can actually start off. So with the 1496 over 3400 equals x over 100, the original problem, you can absolutely just go ahead and say, yo, I'm going to simplify horizontally. I'm going to knock out these zeros. So basically, 1496 divided by 34 equals x. You can go straight into that. My advanced people, you'll see that, you'll know what that means. But for the people who are still getting used to things, don't worry about what I just wrote. That's horizontal simplification. Yes, you can do it because all you're doing is dividing out from both denominators. As long as you're doing the same thing to both sides, it works. So, enough of that very first, very confusing question. I want to make sure that I reiterate, we went through 3 different strategies. 1, the regular formula just right up here. Number 2, we treated it like a proportion. And then number 3, a proportion again, but where we simplified it first. So whichever way you prefer the most, hey, go with it and keep learning and moving forward. And before you go, if you like what you saw and you want to raise your score with thousands of practice problems just like that, so you can lower that test anxiety, raise that confidence, go to this link right here to check out the full program. There's a video that shows you exactly how it works, but you're going to get lessons, guided practice, worksheets, speed drills, and everything that you need to feel supported from day 1 all the way until you pass. Again, I'm Coach Anderson, and I'll see you soon.